You know, there's a lot of great OU podcasts, but there's only one where the horns are always down. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Horns Down Podcast.
What's up, people, on this lovely Sunday? Horns Down Podcast. Horns always down, right? Guys, look, we lost the game. We lost to Texas. We lost to Red River rivalry, right? The Red River runs orange right now. But we're here Monday. We're here Tuesday. We're here random days. And we're definitely here win or lose. Love our Sooners. Love this team. A lot of work to do. A lot of stuff to do. Guys, look, Texas fans are going to come in here. They're going to talk their talk and all the rest of that stuff. You got to let them. We had bragging rights for a year. Now they got bragging rights. It is what it is. I'll be on the Atonement episode or whatever over there with Steven and all the rest of them. Hats off to Texas. Texas played, a really good game or whatnot. But for now, and honestly, that game right there, my focus is solely on OU. So I got Chris Mason with me. All the info is down there in the bio. But Chris Mason, go ahead and let everybody know where they can find your content. Talk about your Patreon. Talk about some of the new fans from an opposing team that you're getting in your chat.
So apparently, Texas fans, welcome to the world of OU football recruiting podcasts and YouTube videos. I have gotten a flurry of Texas fan comments on my YouTube site. Thanks, I guess. Keep coming for the OU recruiting episodes and hearing how OU is doing in recruiting. Texas won. You are correct. You are correct. So you can follow me on Patreon. Go to patreon.com /Sooners360-817. That's the link. You can follow me on YouTube by just finding Sooners360. And on your podcast platforms of choice, just search for Sooners360 and you'll find my recruiting podcasts. Or follow me on Twitter, X, and my handle is in the notes there. Yeah, you can follow me there for updates on whenever I post something on any of my channels.
So we're going to start this off by just saying, Jason, if I sent you the link, shot you a text, always welcome. Jason from Hall of Fame College Football Podcast. Start this off with Jason simply because he said something to me yesterday in the call after the game. I think it summarizes what we saw yesterday, which was you had 2 weeks to prepare and you couldn't score a touchdown. You had 2 weeks to prepare, and then I had some other friends. Shout out to my guy Jay, but I had some other friends talking about there were new plays that were installed, right? Okay, I get that. You see the sprint draw run. You see them try to build a couple of things off of that, and you're like, I mean, I don't love it, but okay. I mean, if it's going to move the ball, then okay. But from those conversations, the one thing that was the consensus, I guess, denominator was the fact that, it's right here in the chat. Did we leave Seth Ruth in Dallas? Seth needs to go home to Muskogee and learn at that high school. You hear it, you see it. You know what I'm saying? It's one of those things where yesterday, like I said, man, look, I really don't have anything bad to say about Texas. This is more about us than it is about them. They won the game, hands down. At a very high level, Chris Mason, the only thing that I will say about our defense is simply I think Brent and gosh, why am I forgetting his name? What's
Ali.
Yeah, I think BV and Ali, I think they need to they have to stop. They have to figure out how and when to leave that 3-man front. I think our 3-man front, it worked early and it worked often, but after a while it just was not effective. Their run game They're in there with 6 or 7 guys to our 3, and so we're still trying to play coverage because we're trying to cover that middle because they kept sending the guy up the middle. But that's really the only thing I would say is that your reluctance, your hesitance, your kind of refusal almost at times to get out of that 3-man front. That's the only thing I really would say about the defense. But, I mean, for the most part, you did what you needed to do. Hell, it was 14-3, 21-3. They got that fumble touchdown that was just one of the crazier plays that you've seen in this rivalry, right? But I think where the issue that I really have watching what I watched yesterday is just really oozing out all of the optimism and just really getting down to like the honest truth. Seth Luttrell is not working. I was excited about it. My guys at the championship standard, we looked at the offense. I don't know what this offense is. We lack an offensive identity. We're not even Iowa at this point. We're wasting a championship level defense, which is funny because we've always talked about we wasted championship level offenses, but we're wasting the defense now. We can't play complementary football. We don't know how to play complementary football. The problems that you're seeing is not necessarily the offensive line yesterday. It's just your true freshman who looked composed at times. He just played like a true freshman. Wasn't seeing the field. Guys are running open. They're Raggins, Sawchuck. There are guys open. There are guys there are plays to be made. At times, the pocket wasn't clean, but if you trust the pocket just a little while longer, you probably can make a decent play to pick up a first down, right? First quarter, you thought everything was good, but you still go back to the fact that you got an interception inside of your own 30-yard line, and you can't move the ball.
It was at the 40. It was at the Texas 45. So
either way, you still can't move the ball, and that's how you take.
Well, I hated the play calling after that first pass to I think it was Thompson. They got the first down. I hated the play calling in that series. It was just like, okay, what do you? The bomb to Hester, I didn't mind, but it's just Hawkins' lack of awareness of. Okay, you've got Hester deep in the end zone, right?
Yeah.
Don't overthrow him. If anything, underthrow him because he's 6'5" and he's on like a 5'11", 6-foot guy, right?
Yeah.
Throw a jump ball to him for crying out loud, right? You get a PI, maybe you get a PI call, or Hester high points it. So that was that's on Hawkins. He needs to if you're hitting Hester on a go route into the end zone, which is basically what it was, sort of, put it, don't overthrow him. If anything, underthrow him. Let him adjust and high point come back for the ball. You get a PI call or Hester can get the ball. But, to me, the defense a little bit, Chris, started trying to make the big play instead of doing their assignment. That was that was the deal on the running plays. We saw a little bit of Makari Vickers out there. He missed a couple of tackles. He's just back from injury and suspension, and he's the only reason he's out there is because you moved. Because I told everybody up and down the Jacoby Johnson move was stupid, and it is because it forced you to play Makari Vickers instead of playing Jacoby Johnson, who should be playing cornerback. I mean, we're 2 games into this experiment, and what are we getting? Not a damn thing. It's just it's worthless. Get Zion Kearney and Ivan Carrion going. But the fact of the matter is I'm wearing this hat today, not the Sooner Schooner hat, because the wheels have all fallen off the wagon. It's in the shop. It's in the shop. There are no wheels on my hat any longer. The wheel fell off my hat about, mid third quarter in the Cotton Bowl yesterday. Everybody's screaming for someone to get fired. And let's just face it, this was the offensive version of Mike Stoops in the Cotton Bowl in 2018. Okay, if you want to comp, that's the comp, right?
Yeah.
That you had 2 weeks to get the O-line playing better, to get you knew Burks wasn't playing. You've known it all the last 2 weeks. You had 2 weeks to get your wide receiver group going. in sync with Hawkins. Who's coaching Hawkins up at this point? That's the question everybody asks me, and that's the questions I'm like, I don't know. Who was fixing Arnold? I don't know.
Yeah.
For better or worse, at least when Lincoln Riley or Levy was here, you knew the quarterbacks were getting coached, right? I'm stunned. Levy just put 31 on Georgia with a freshman quarterback in Athens. Van Buren just threw, I think, for like 350, 325 yards, something like that. They had 400 yards of offense and 31 points on Georgia in Athens. Sooner Cowboys is right. Every one of those things is accurate. But can you fire a coach midweek before you have the one home game that you have a chance of winning? Other than Maine, can you? I mean, I would, at a minimum, Brent has got to send a message to the offensive coaching staff and to the defense, and to not lose the defense and start losing some guys. To start losing some guys in terms of effort and transfer portal nonsense on the defensive side of the ball. So if I'm Brent, I hate saying this ahead of identifying a guy, but he's not getting it done in recruiting. He's not getting it done in tight end development. I basically pull old duties from John Finley, tell him thank you very much. Go talk to HR, turn in your badge and your parking pass, and thanks, and we're going to do this so you have enough time to find another gig. We'll pay you the rest of the year. Tell Seth he has to take control of the tight end group. He can coach them. He's a fullback. He can coach tight ends just fine, and promote the Duke guy who was the quarterback coach, and promote him to quarterback coach, and tell him to start play calling. I think you have to do something. If you can't do that this week, you have to do it after the Ole Miss game with the bye week and the Maine situation coming up in early November. But it's a total lack of confidence in what's going on. It's a total lack of confidence in structure and organization. I'm the recruiting guy. I have people to keep telling me that they want to fire Bill. I'm like, yeah, okay, sure. The product on the field is completely corrupted. It's all Bill's fault. Bill chose these portal guys. He scouted and evaluated them over other guys he could have grabbed.
Yeah.
He didn't sign 4 guys in 22. He didn't sign 4 guys in 22. He should have added 2 more guys after Brent came on board. He should have screamed and said, I need 3 more high school offensive linemen in that class. They sat pat with just Taylor and Sexton. Both were playing the wrong position, although Sexton did move to tackle. Sexton's a right tackle and Taylor's a guard. Yeah. So I don't know what the hell he thought he was doing, bringing in Spencer Brown and Tarquin.
As Brady Trantham would always put, shout out to Brady Trantham. Definitely go out there and check the Through the Keyhole podcast on Patreon as well. But as he would say, you went out there and got a group of 5 all-star team.
Tarquin's from USC in Florida.
It's still group of 5 all-star team.
Well, those are. Tarquin's not, and the Michigan State guy isn't. He's from Power 5, but you did not get. There's a guy out there. They're
G5 all-stars.
There's a guy out there, which I keep getting hit over the head with some of my Sooner friends. Shout out to them. They didn't go after J.C. Davis from New Mexico, who's at Illinois and playing really well. Right? Hurd's not doing. If you're watching Tennessee's got like 2 more losses on their schedule. Their offense, also the wheels have come off it. OU showed how you neutralize Tennessee.
Yeah.
Florida, in Rocky Top took Tennessee to overtime. But to get back to OU, you've got to make changes on the offensive staff in October to keep this team together and to keep pushing forward, because the defense is starting to press. You saw that, right? They're getting out of their lanes. People are trying to make a big play. Yeah. We're not doing the bend and break any longer when teams cross the 50. Teams are getting in the end zone because folks are trying to are overplaying, trying to make a big play, and it's opening holes for running game and other things. I mean, that whole fumble touchdown thing, the big punt return. How you don't call that block in the back is absolutely beyond me. Just small minor gripes, but really, this was Texas fans. All credit to you. It was 34-3, but really, that it was 21-3. That's really the final score of this game.
I mean, for anybody that actually really cared. But no, what I would say, just jumping in here is that I said, look, to me, I don't necessarily know if beating Bo is the problem. I don't think that the offensive line wasn't necessarily my issue yesterday. My issue is the simple fact that the offense, as I put it last night in the Discord, guys, I definitely said, hey, look, this is a East Coast, West Coast beef. There is nothing going up north. There is no shots going south. There is nothing that they're doing to try to stretch the field. You saw one play that they try to stretch the field. Everything else, you're just like, okay, he's fitting that in the window, or he's doing this, or he's being hesitant, or the other on the flip side, he just was not seeing the field. I mean, there were times where there were guys. It's the inconsistency within the offense itself. As far as sending a message, like, my uncle and I, we were there at the game, and we left both looking at each other, just saying, man, something has to change. Like, it has to change. Obviously, the big fish that you want out right now is Latrell. You're asking how long did we sign them? Because I'm forgetful as far as how long their contracts were. Joe John definitely has to go. I'm sorry, he has to go. But I mean, I don't want to lose EJ. I don't want to lose Beaton Bo. I like what those two are doing. I don't think that you fired those two. I don't think that's necessarily going to be the issue. We've seen him in some piss poor years, but we've also seen them in really good years, or years where it was still a bit ragtag, but you got through it. Hell, last year was not picture perfect, but you got through it and you won 10 games. You get what I'm saying? But the problem that I'm a problem area that I know people are kind of giving me some pushback on right now, as far as what I'm talking about, is to me, I think you got to look at Latrell, Joe John, and maybe DeMarco. I'm just not necessarily happy with the run game, because yesterday I just don't understand, why are we running stretch plays? Why are we running stretch runs with Javonte Barnes? What is up with Sawchuk right now? When we go into our split back system, which I love split back systems, I do. I think they're some of the most they can bring about some of the most creative play calling that you've seen. However, when your top wide receivers are out, you should probably have big packages with your wide receivers out there to try to really spread the field, which you weren't doing, and you become really predictable, because that sprint draw run is not necessarily great in an instance like this, in a game like this, not necessarily because of the defense or whatever that we're facing, simply because there's mechanical issues with it right now, because your quarterback is a true freshman and his footwork sometimes can be sloppy, right? So when what was something I've heard a bunch of OU pods say about Hawkins, when he drops back a little bit too deep. He takes a couple of extra steps, some unnecessary steps, and a couple of times with some of those sprint draw run plays, that's what it felt like. Felt like he was running out. I mean, I know he's running the motion, but it kind of felt like he was running out of the play, or this and that, just making stuff up on the fly. But there were some times where he just was not as decisive as he was. There was a couple of times where you're like, hey, just take off. There's wide open lane. There's nobody within 5 yards of you. But, experience, I guess, is everything. But it's just one of those things where this offense just lacks an identity, man. You don't really know what's going to happen. Yeah.
There's no rhythm. There's no rhythm to the play calling. It's just again, Chris, you had 2 weeks to do this. How are you not scripting your first plays to look indecisive, uncoordinated on those first two and those first couple of drives, especially after the turnover? You had 2 weeks. You had 2 weeks to save your job. You got a miracle in You got a miracle on the plains at Auburn. It's you want to fire DeMarco, go ahead. You're gonna lose. You'll lose our current. You'll lose our running back verbals because they're pretty much tied to DeMarco. That's fine. You can pick up other running backs and recruiting. It's not a big deal. You can pick up other running backs, but you're gonna lose them. So just know that. Okay. And if that's the consequence that you draw from it, fine. But I don't know that DeMarco I don't think he's become bad.
Yeah,
the play calling and the offensive line.
Yeah,
there's no consistency from either one of them in how the running game is used.
Mm-hmm.
It's been the inside zone stuff, just battering in the middle is counterproductive. You've not set up the run. You don't use different running backs in different ways, and you're not. And if it all comes down to the offensive coordinator. He should be telling DeMarco what guys in and drafting the plays based upon the running back we have in and scheming what we're doing. It's to me, the offensive line's been, has been iffy all year long. You haven't built up your running game or your consistency in the running game. The running backs don't have any feel for it. They don't know how many carries they're going to get because the offense is just so inconsistent. So to me, if you want to fire DeMarco, if you're firing DeMarco, you have to fire Bill. You do. If you're cleaning house and you say DeMarco's got to go, Bill has to go too because cannot. And to me, the question really is, Chris. Let's get to the major question. If you're hiring a new offensive coordinator, you cannot hamstring that person with existing personnel. You have to say you can clean house whoever you want. You could, other than Emmett Jones, I'd like you to keep Emmett Jones because I don't think Emmett's dealing with a circumstance that no one could really deal with, right? The injuries at wide receiver, Burks being injured. He's dealing with something that isn't. I mean, there's mistakes Emmett Jones has made, but they're small mistakes in the big picture. But if you want to, Brent needs to go out and get a high-profile offensive coordinator, throw him a bunch of money and say, you can keep anybody or keep or fire anybody on the current staff that you want. And the list starts with steal the Penn State guy. We should have stole him last year from Kansas, right? Penn State just put up 30 points and Drew Aller just threw for like 400 yards, right? That guy couldn't. That offense is 10 times better than it was last year. It's not a, and I don't think it's a, there's a connection there. Or, go grab the guy from shout out to my brother. He keeps asking why we don't hire the James Madison offensive coordinator. The Dukes are putting up great points.
Jason put in, he said Tim Beck's name. I think from just kind of what things that you've heard floated out there, and I hate to talk about somebody's job who's still the resident OC.
Well, where are we? We can't hope. Okay. So to steal another comment from a friend of mine, hope is not a plan, right? And we are hoping the offense improves because we have no functional empirical evidence that says the offense is going to improve over the rest of the year, right? We don't. And once you actually have a veteran wide receiver return, play a full football game, impact the game plan, and play the next week. Well, Sooner in Texas, I disagree with you just based on the fact that you need to hire a Brent Venable. When Dabo needed a new defensive coordinator at Clemson, he went and got Brent Venables, right? This is the reverse of this. Brent needs to go get an offensive coordinator who is going to run that side of the ball and has current experience, current productivity in it. And that's what he needs to do. And I think you hire a guy, but you don't hire a guy and then hamstring him and say, you can't, you have to, you have to use all the same assistants who are part of the shit show, the derailed Sooner wagon from last year. You cannot do that. You have to say you can hire whoever you want.
Here is let me jump in. Here's the God's honest truth about this offense right now, people. and Texas fans especially. I know y'all are loving this and it's all good or whatnot. We're not. This is honestly just really about kind of what we saw yesterday from OU, and then kind of like, where are we going with this, right? First things first, I'll just say this right here. If we're going to do like a little mini State of the Union address, I think BV is fine. BV signed that extension. I don't think this is John Blake or Charlie Strong or any crap like that. BV's not in over his head. Thing is that you just miss. Sometimes you miss, right? Some things you thought, hey, it's working out at K-State. Why didn't it work out here, right? They let Will Howard leave. We let Dylan go, right? But I mean, I think everything, people not necessarily loving him in the media right now and all the rest of this stuff, I think he's trying to be as professional as he can. We all know BV's not happy. We all know what type of team he wants to field. And I mean, hey, look, there are 6 games left. Let's let this play out and see what happens. But second thing I would say, I don't want to lose DeMarco. Don't want to lose Beatonbow. Don't want to lose EJ as well. Don't want to necessarily hamstring the coach, but I still would like him to come in here and try to see if he would want to work with those guys and bring his guys in, tight end coach, whatever the case may be, analyst position. Those guys are still going to be on the field and be able to help coach anyways. And I think there's a willingness to do that. Other thing is that, when it comes to this offense, I think the thing that's most frustrating is that you, on one hand, you want to say, I don't really know what this offense looks like because we've never had any of our top wide receivers, right? We've had injuries on the O-line, and we're trying to put that together, and we're working in 2 new quarterbacks. So I don't know what this could look like in year 2. However, what I think most OU fans are pissed about now, the reason why they want Latrell gone, I don't think anybody's really like materialized this into real words, into a real sentence, but it's the simple fact of you have highly touted guys out there like Jaquez Petaway, Zion Kearney. Hell, Ivan Carrion is not even getting any time for whatever reason. Zion Raggins. You have guys like that out there. And the fact of the matter is you can't even run basic offense to help those guys. I don't think that is that those guys can't get separation. I think it's by design that we're trying to play so close to the brim because I think there's a mistrust or a misconnection there between your quarterback, your previous quarterback, and the offensive coordinator, because you can't throw anything down the field 15 yards, anything further than 15 yards. Because if you do, that's most likely an interception. I don't necessarily know what Seth Littrell has been doing or what he's been calling, because there's been some weeks where I've said it's not necessarily on him. You got to execute. However, now, especially coming off a bye week, and you've had 2 weeks to prepare, and you can only put up 3 points, something is dead wrong. And I don't know. It still feels like I can tell you that it hasn't necessarily been on his play calling every single game, but I can tell you I don't know what offense I'm looking at, simply because I don't feel like this is anything that I bragged about or talked about coming into the season, watching North Texas, watching North Carolina. I saw him piecemeal teams together and piecemeal seasons together to where they had a lot of success. And if his quarterback was handicapped in the throwing game, he made up for that with what they were doing in the run game and using the QB run game as well. Or on the flip side, he was able to show off kind of the best of both worlds over there at North Texas. I just don't know. And the Seth Littrell teams that I'm used to seeing are North and South teams trying to get down the field and taking shots when they're there. This right here looks like he's playing so close to the brim. But it's the fact that that your guys are injured. Nobody's making excuses for that. We get it. Guys are injured. Offensive line has been shot. It is what it is. We know what we're doing. It's 6 games into the season. We can't turn back. Got to circle the wagon. But you can't even run basic offense to move the ball, to have some type of continuity. At one point, you were leading. You were leading. You were getting first downs. You were doing different things like that. But when things got tight, it's just like, what are we doing? The play calling, 2 plays in, 2 plays in, great calls. Next 2 plays, what are we doing? We're just basically giving them the ball back. That's all that we're doing. Go for it. You really don't have anything to lose at this point. You're down 21-3 at halftime, and you're coming out there and you're still just running more of what was on your script, opposed to we need to let this thing fly and we need to try to get down the field, opposed to just sitting here trying to dig and dive. We can do that a couple of times, this and that. We can move the ball, but we got to take shots. We got to be able to run our offense. But after a while, it just, I don't know. But to me, I think that's a lot of Sooner fans' their real frustration.
Well, we were told, we didn't make this up. We were told that they were going to spend 2 weeks self-scouting, self-evaluating, and figure out what they were doing best and what they weren't doing.
Mm-hmm.
If that's the result that we got, then you have to make a change. If you took 2 weeks to self-evaluate and then you rolled out that, you know what Hawkins' liabilities are as a freshman, right? You're not protecting him. You're not pushing him to throw downfield. He was tight. He was tight. He just was. The stage was bigger than him. Let's just call it what it was. Mm-hmm. That's not his fault. He should have been in that game with a fleet of veteran wide receivers and a veteran O-line creating holes for the running game. He should have been a cog, not the playmaker having to make everything work. So from that perspective, that's the biggest concern, Chris, is you had 2 weeks where you said you were self-scouting, self-evaluating to figure out what you did best. And then you rolled that out, which tells me you don't know what you're doing best. And if you do, you can't play call it, design it, and coach it so it can be executed. And if those are all accurate comments, then I don't think you can make a change this week. It's too quick a turnaround. But with Seth, but I think you've got to get John's, whoever your best QB coach is, you have got to promote him to a real coach. So he's on the phone with Hawkins, either on the sideline. He needs to be on the sideline with Hawkins. Both he and J.A. need somebody on the sideline telling them what to do. Now, I don't know who that is on staff, but you need to get somebody on staff doing that. It's not Joe John Finley, and it's not Seth Luttrell. I don't know who else it is, but you need to make a change and get the Johns guy from Duke is the most experienced QB guy on the coaching staff. He needs to be a everyday coach on the sidelines during the game, talking to Hawkins. That change has to happen like yesterday. You're done. Joe John, you can't recruit, and you're not developing tight ends worth of crap. And you're not play calling or developing an offensive game plan worth of crap. So thanks for playing. Go CHR. Like I said, turn in your badge, your parking pass, and your 500 pieces of Jordan Brand apparel, OU apparel at the nearest Goodwill location in Norman. That's just where we are. I mean, fans are frustrated. Brent has blown all of his equity and capital with this game, with the regular fan base, right? And the donor fan base, I don't really talk to. Obviously, there's a couple people I know, who know some donors and stuff like that. They're obviously more outraged because they've been putting money into this. So you've got to make changes so you have the NIL money this offseason. But you've got to start making some kids into the lineup changes. You've got to get Howland in there. You've got to get Taylor at the right position. You've got to get EPL and Ozeta more playing time, because really, I understand it, Stephen G, but he needs to be the QB coach, the actual QB coach. He needs to be the guy running practice with the quarterbacks. He needs to be the guy that the quarterbacks trust, and you have somebody measuring their development, because it can't be Seth, because he can't do it, and neither could Joe John Finley. And we don't have a veteran quarterback like a third-year quarterback, like Quinn Ewers, or the 6-year, 7th-year quarterback like some other places have. We have a true freshman. He needs a mentor, full-time coach who's full-time on the staff with no limitations of what he can do. So that so I'd start playing Howland, Ozetta, EPL, and move Sexton to right tackle and move Taylor inside the guard because that's where those guys need to be. Stop having the wrong guys in the wrong position. And Tarquin, I appreciate what he's done, but he's a backup. And he's a senior, and he's not every rep Tarquin, Nwewu get moving forward are wastes of reps because Nowewu's not lived up to his potential, and he should be replaced by Brooks or EPL next year. He should be benched by those guys. Just matter of fact. So let's start getting the young guys more playing time. Don't kill this Jacoby Johnson experiment. All those reps need to go to Zion Kearney and Ivan Carrion.
You saw him get flipped back over there.
He did, but he needs to stay over there because we need him next year when we lose Malone and Woody Washington, who's not playing great either. You need Jacoby over there because Vickers made some mistakes. That's okay. Vickers was hurt and suspended. He didn't really practice most of August. He's just getting back in the swing of things, whereas Jacoby practiced all of August and was playing. So don't understand that move. End that experiment and just get the wide receivers going and tell Burks, play against South Carolina. I don't know what's wrong with Burks, and maybe I'm being completely unfair, but seriously, at this point, Burks, play against South Carolina or hit the bricks. Right? We need you. We need you. Or don't bother playing any longer, right?
Well, we
need you.
Yeah.
We needed you against Texas, and you weren't ready to go. Okay, why? No one's telling us any answers. If you can't go against South Carolina, then what's the point?
No, I think that we've pointed out, obviously, just kind of the woes, not only from the game yesterday, but just from this right here. Just from, injury, all the rest of that stuff. We talked about it all. Kind of what is this team dealing with? Obviously, the big issue right now is the biggest elephant in the room is just the offense, right? With Latrell, I don't know. But where do you go from here? You still have 6 games left in this season.
Well, you can continue rinse and repeating what we've currently done the first 6 weeks of the season, right? Mm-hmm. Which will lead to the only teams we're going to beat are the teams that beat themselves. Okay? That South Carolina beats themselves. They do. They did it. They did it Saturday. They had Bama on the ropes and fumbled the ball and gave Bama a lead. Gave Bama the lead to take over, to get Bama back in the game and give Bama the lead. So South Carolina will lose the game if we let them. Okay? But their D-line may be in our backfield all day, so we may lose. We going to have to hope they really lose the game because, the Kennard kid and Stewart are going to be in our backfield all day. So that's a problem. Yeah, Ole Miss, your defense can play really well, and their defense is okay. You can rinse, repeat. The problem, Chris, is I don't see improvement. I don't see things getting better. They got slightly better against Auburn, and then you played Texas. And maybe part of this is just the fact that Texas is a veteran, experienced team with a 3-year offensive core, 4-year, their offensive system never changes because they have Sark. Katowski's in his 3rd year, so that scheme is now embedded. They have good athletes, and they're playing, and they have a consistent side, and their offense is playing well. You got a veteran quarterback, veteran offensive line. That's generally the deciding factor in most things. I said that last week. Said that on my YouTube thing, guys, about Texas, and for all the Texas fans posting on my YouTube channel. Thanks. Said that Texas had the veteran quarterback on the line, and that was probably going to be the deciding factor. I just don't, Chris. I just don't know. You need to shake up things offensively now, and I think it starts with you need to let every offensive coach know they're coaching for their jobs. They seem far too comfortable. Barra Sharps, threw Seth under the bus. He said, "What did Seth say after the game in the locker room?" He's like, "Well, he didn't have much to say." Okay, well, Brent, you need to shake up that. And you need to tell Seth, if we're not scoring 30 points a game in November, you're done. Something like that. I don't know. Like the whole Iowa offensive coordinator game points per game average, or you're fired nonsense last year because what's his name? Although Iowa scored 48 points yesterday, so the world of college football was screwy. So we've seen everyone's criticizing Hawkins for the not throwing the ball to somebody on the fourth down play. We're seeing a whole epidemic of quarterbacks on fourth and whatever end of the game stuff, not making plays. It's weird. Will Howard yesterday, that with a brain dead decision in the Oregon game. Nico last week. I don't know. It's the whole SEC is topsy-turvy.
And that's the thing that gives me some hope, I guess, going forward is a simple fact that, I think that there is.
I don't know where the hope is, Chris.
I don't necessarily know where the hope is all the way at, but I still think that there are games out there where defensively you can hold them off. If you just can play complementary football,
they can't though.
I'm not saying for the complete game, at least for a quarter and a half, because the whole thing is, I think
the only person you can outplay right now is Maine. Everybody else, you have to hope.
Yeah.
They lose the game because can't win the game.
I don't know that going into the South Carolina games, their offense is really not as good. It's not any better than ours. And obviously, they're putting up points, but you know what they really want to do. They want to do quarterback run. They want to run rocket centers. They really wanted to impose that. Throw into their basically just sitting there saying, "Hey, we're going to turn you into a passing team." It's not necessarily what they want to do. I think South Carolina.
But they know who they are offensively. We don't.
They know who they are offensively, but hell, it's if we're here, they're maybe about right there. And maybe that's just enough. But I mean, it's not like they're just, oh my God. Defensively, they're just they're in a lot of games that's just they have a pretty damn good front, man. They do. Those two edges are guys.
The line right now says that OU is not on a neutral site. South Carolina be favored by 0.5 point. It's like OU by 2.5. So Norman should be worth 3 points.
Yeah.
And that may be pick 'em by the time the game goes. I'm just saying, when you say hope, I'm going to have to be a little negative and say it's desperation. It's not like hope. We've gone past hope is a positive thing. We're in a desperate mode of belief that the offensive can get better week over week. And I don't know that it can until you have to mentally shake things up and make a change and just say, Seth, dump every damn thing that's not working. If you want to go zone, go air raid, pure air raid, just freaking do it.
Yeah.
Do something that looks like we're going to go 4 wide and 1 running back and do the Leach air raid. Do it.
And that was going to be my next question. We're talking about where do we go from here, and I know we're talking mostly about schedule, which I still think there are some games on that schedule.
Well, yeah, everybody's leaking. Everybody's leaking. I mean, Ole Miss lost again, gave the game away at LSU, but Nussmeier's playing far better than any quarterback we have, and they have 2 good offensive tackles, so their offensive line's better. Their defense is still all over the place, and the game plan, one of the things we seem to have done with the Tennessee game is we've given the SEC a game plan on how you stop the Levy, the Ole Miss offense, the Tennessee offense. We've given folks a game plan on it. The only question is, can you score enough points to beat them? And LSU pulled it out, and Florida couldn't. They took them to overtime, but 17-7. So we've given the Kiffin Heupel offense, the Levy offense, although has been game planned. OU showed schematically how you stop it, right? They have for the most part. So that's the positive. We seem to have a scheme that for one of those games. We have it. Missouri's all over the place in terms of who they really are. Don't know what they are. They'll be beat up. Alabama is vulnerable, but our offense is so inept. We have very little chance of staying with them because Milroe is just so much better at quarterback than what we're rolling out. LSU, I don't know. Who knows? Maybe. I mean, the only thing you can hang your hat on is maybe by after Maine, we will have Andrell Anthony and Jalil Farouk back on the team. That's it. I don't know what you do the rest of October with what we've seen. I would go air raid completely. Just dust out the Leach manual, the Leach piece of paper that has the plays on it. That's all you do, and dust it out and tell Hawkins to run it and just run it until you just keep doing it. Use Raggins and Thompson, Kearney, and I guess Hester, and just run that offense.
That's what I thought we were going to see coming into this Texas game. I'm just going to be honest with you. I did not expect. Okay, listen to this. Just hear me out on this one. I think you'll laugh at this. I did not expect us to go from running basically a variation of what Levy's running, not even the veer and shoot, just a variation of it, right? With Jackson Arnold. I didn't think that we would leave running that RPO scheme and then go to what we saw in the Auburn game, which was kind of a little bit of just all over the place. I didn't think that we would land on running Tony Elliott's scheme up there at Clemson, which was what we saw yesterday, if we're being quite honest, right? A bunch of sprint draw, little stuff like this. I was like, man, this is, as Sam Presti would say, scared money don't make money. I was like, y'all are playing very, very close to the brim. Y'all are not letting it loose. You got to let it loose. I was like, because this ain't it. I was like, this helps on some of the short yardage stuff. Those plays would be great on short yardage stuff. But I was like, come on, man. Like, let's just be real. Like, you're not going to get a bunch of chunk plays like that because you're trying to run that with the wrong personnel. Javonte Barnes is hesitant. There was a couple of times where there was a couple of holes. He's running through it. You're like, hey, Javonte, I just run. Hit the hole and go. And he's hesitant, still making jukes, doing all the rest of that stuff, dancing in the backfield. And you're just like, man, just hit the hole. That's probably at the verse 10, 15 yards right there. So, I mean, it's just very frustrating because there are opportunities for you to really take momentum, to swing momentum, to do a lot of different things in that game yesterday, but you didn't. And, I mean, I don't know, defensively, even on that one play, you got gashed, but then you got the fumble. Okay, they're up 14-3. It's 14-3 for a while, right? And then all of a sudden, just offensively, you can't do anything, man. You turn it over twice or whatever. They beat you in the area it mattered most, and where we won last year, that turnover battle. And those turnovers were huge. 2 back-to-back fumbles on back-to-back drives, right? So, I mean, there are just some things out there that just happen. I don't know. But at this point, that's what I would say. I think that you have the speed. You have good guys. You have good wide receivers. Your offensive line is not going to be the great. But, I mean, if you're going to run the air raid system, or if that's what you were coined on doing, that's what you were brought up doing, do it. Go out. I'd say all guns blazing.
Okay. Let's just be honest. If you keep doing what you did Saturday, Seth, this is we're pleading to you, Seth. You are getting fired. And you're going to take the entire offensive coaching staff with you.
Yeah.
I mean, Joe John, pack your bags, put your house on Zillow. It's been nice. Maybe Jeff Levy has a job for you. Other than that, thanks for not recruiting a tight end at a high school who's made a play in 3 years. And thanks for choosing the wrong portal guy. Thanks for not choosing Jake Roberts the first time. So you basically cost us Nate Roberts in recruiting. Thanks, Joe John. I mean, I don't know what you've accomplished. Brandon Willis made you look good for a year. But other than that, for 2 years, was that your doorbell?
Yeah, take over for a second. I'll be right back.
Okay. So anyway, I think the biggest problem is right now. It's the mentality of the team, locker room. It's everyone's throwing around. This is the worst offense since 1998 and John Blake. Jake Sills won a couple of games in 1998 at the end of the year for us. So, you've got to go bowling. You've got to get as much development time for these young guys. You've got to find a win other than Maine. South Carolina looks like the best opportunity. I'm scared of what their defensive line is going to do to our offensive line. Legitimately, based upon the Alabama game, offensively, as Chris said, they want to run the ball. Our defense should shut them down, and they'll make mistakes. They will.
Man,
so,
my bad about that. That was somebody was dropping something off, and they told me Texas still sucks. but no, man. Yeah, keep going.
My only point, Chris, is you've got to get to 6 wins. You've got to get this young offensive staff, offensive players, a bowl game and bowl prep, right? You've got to get Mike Hawkins the second spring of December bowl prep, right? You've got to. You have to. So you've got to. Maine puts you at 5 wins. You've got to find another win somewhere. South Carolina's defensively, their defense is a bad matchup for us because their defensive line will terrorize our O-line. And offensively, our defense should be able to shut them down significantly, and they'll make mistakes. Okay, if you say we have a bad O-line, I'm not going to debate you on that point. Sure. Okay. Yeah. All right. You're number one. You're the default number one. You still haven't been tested because I can guarantee you we didn't do anything to you to test you yesterday. So yeah.
Do you?
I'll be interested to see your game against UGA with all UGA's problems, and you're just in cruise mode. So that'll be a fascinating game for me to watch as a college football fan. Great day in college football, other than the OU game, right? The end of the USC game was great.
I wouldn't know after that game. I checked out. I can absorb. I understand that lots of Sooner fans do that. College football fan. The Bama South Carolina game was insane. The Tennessee Florida game went to overtime. The Ole Miss LSU overtime, and then watching Dylan Gabriel both win and lose the game for Oregon 3 or 4 times, and then Will Howard just lose the game. Yeah. I'll end up watching that.
Even K-State, Colorado, which was 2 a.m. Eastern time, by the way, was fascinating. So it was a great day of college football. OU didn't show up.
I watched a couple of games yesterday, but as you hear it in my voice, as you kind of see it in my face, people, I am not low on energy. I am not down and out about OU football right now. I still think like, hey, look, we're 4-2. Let's just see what happens. Trust me, people. Dallas was good to me. It was very good to me. Kid free, fiance free. It was good to me. We had some fun, people. But anyways,
I wish I could have had the funnel cake of defeat yesterday.
I said, you know what? I'm in Dallas, so I was like, man, let me figure it out, right? Yeah, anyways,
3 guys that have to start getting more playing time for South Carolina. Zion Kearney, and Taylor Tatum. You've got to start getting those guys more playing time and start moving forward because as they're physically the best playmakers with all the injuries we have, I believe. At running back, I think Tatum's the best playmaker, and I think Kearney is as a bigger wide receiver with all the short crap we're trying to run. The small guys are going to be bodied. I mean, South Carolina's got big DBs. They're going to just body our small guys. You need Kearney to as a big guy out there to get some separation, get some short yardage space. So, and then I think the third guy, obviously, I want to see an offensive line change. I think reps for Tarquin at this point are wasted reps. get Logan Howland out there. He's going to suck, but he'll be better next year for it.
I'm just looking at the comments right here. Here goes Mr. Midfield. How you doing, sir? Y'all won the game. Great. You didn't, bro. Look, it is what it is. Like, look, Texas fans, I'm not even going to really crap on y'all because y'all deserve it. Y'all won the game. So I'm not even going to be mad or anything like that. But I think y'all got to understand, are we in flux right now? Yes. Do we have a lot of stuff to fix? Yes. Is what it is. Got to figure it out. Got to figure it out or got to make a change. And that's all it is. I don't see us being a decade of mediocre or anything like that you guys don't also
we've got a 3-year run on defense.
Yeah.
We do. But Brent cannot waste that by being indecisive about the offensive direction of this football team.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, man. I still believe in BV. I can't speak for everybody else, Sooner Cowboys. I can't speak for everybody else, but I mean, I'm not doom and gloom on him, man. We asked for a defense. We asked for him to come in here and fix that. We did, right? I think Sooner in Texas, he said something else earlier. He was like, hey, I get what you're saying. Don't hamstring the OC, Mr. Mason. But you kind of did that already with some guys. With Levy, you still bumped out the top 3 offense in the nation or whatnot. I mean, I think that's the thing people have to understand. Losing Levy, losing Dillon, different things like that. Those were decisions that obviously were made. And maybe now in hindsight, we can say, at least like myself and some other people, maybe that wasn't necessarily the best thing that happened to us, right? We thought that we thought added by subtraction, and maybe that didn't happen. Maybe we did need that one more year of just that continuity, right, leading into the SEC. But I mean, I think that you have talented guys on your roster. I think it does take time, right? It takes time to really get out there and flesh things out. But, you know, we're still on this tip of where do we go? I don't know if you have any more time to talk, but just kind of like, where do you go? And I mean, I'm even to the point now of like, do you bring in a guy from the portal as far as a quarterback is concerned? And do you try to open that thing up and make it a competition, regardless if it's J.A. that's still here or if it's Hawkins that's still here? Do you bring in a new quarterback and try to make that open that battle up all through camp? Because I think at the end of the day, some people would say, well, maybe that's going to scare Sperry away. I mean, however you want to land on that.
I'm sorry, who cares at this point?
But Jaden O'Neal is the big piece, and I saw him there at the game. I actually walked right past him, but I don't think that messes with his trajectory anyways, because if you're bringing in an older guy or if you're bringing in Hawkins or whatever the case may be, regardless if that older guy comes in and he's your number 1 or if Hawkins is still your number 1, that trajectory is still there because those guys off of good seasons or whatever the case may be, then they can. I mean, he has the option to red shirt. He has the option to sit, whatever the case may be. You're going to have time for that. But, I mean, are you there to the point where you think we may need to bring in a guy from the portal? Like, not Casey Thompson, like, in that sense, which I think Casey could play. But I'm talking about, like, a guy who, if somebody jumps into the portal, do you go try to bring that guy in and really create a true competition there?
So, the only thing obviously we got 6 games of God knows what is going to happen, right? I mean, Satterfield said bring a quarterback in from the portal. Okay, we've got 6 games and we don't know what's going to happen yet, right? And you've got to make a quarterback portal decision. The portal isn't extending into January, right? The portal's only going to be in December to bring a guy in for spring, okay? So, I think bringing a quarterback in after spring ball is kind of pointless, but other people may disagree about that. So we'll have to see. So, Chris, the question has to be, who is your offensive coordinator? And I'd give the offensive first. The biggest mistake Brent made was giving J.A. the starting job and not calling the job open in spring. Right? J.A. played that bowl game because he had to. We had no one else who was going to play the position. But in spring, the quarterback position's wide open just because competition breeds the best out of everybody. go prove it, right? That Brent needs to not make that mistake again, right? So I think it depends upon how Hawkins plays the rest of the year, what JA decides to do, and who you bring it. I'm just not going to tell my offensive coordinator that you're going to pay big money for, that you're going to give total control of the offense. Who are your coaches and who is your quarterback? If you're an elite guy, make those decisions based upon what you see, what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Figure out who you want to keep from the coaching staff and figure out what the quarterback situation is. And if you want to bring somebody in to compete with Hawkins, do it. Find the right guy for your system, bring him in and do it. Because we cannot have back-to-back terrible offensive seasons, or we're going to be stuck in the same damn loop we were on defense.
And let me just jump in real quick. For all the people in here talking about quarterback is not the problem, we're not saying quarterback is the problem. We're just basically saying
if Hawkins is not playing significantly better by the end of the year, and we have no barometer for how that's going to occur, no reading, we got to stop protecting our quarterbacks and just tell our offensive coordinator, do what you want to do, because you can upgrade talent in the portal. You can. Use a big brand name, big starting quarterback position. You say don't bring someone in. Then I say, well, X is hitting the portal and he wants a guaranteed starting. He wants a starting spot and he's willing to come to Oklahoma because he thinks he can beat out Mike Hawkins. And if you say, I can't give you X's name, but let's just say it's someone really, really good. You'd be like, oh, well, that changes things considerably. Let's say the Tulane quarterback wants to come to OU, and Tulane's putting up big points and big yards. We would beat Tulane again this year, probably. They're playing great. So, let's just say that happens. And you're like, well, no, he says he wants to come in and compete. Okay. The problem we had is J.A. melted. I think he melted because of perceived competition, and we would have had a better answer of what our quarterback situation was if we'd had a true competition in spring. Both guys pushing to start, and maybe they pushed too hard and crumbled. But I don't think you can tell. I mean, Brent needs to go out and throw $2.5 million at the best offensive coordinator he can find in college football. Okay, that's what he didn't do last year. I mean, his mentors, Bob and Dabo, have promoted from within. Sometimes it works, like Kevin Wilson. Sometimes it doesn't work, like Josh Heupel. Same thing on the defensive side of the ball. Sometimes it works. Dabo promoted a guy internally to replace Brent. That's working. But he also promoted internally to replace one of their offensive coordinators, and that guy just didn't work out at all. Garrett Riley appears to be working out better for them. Klubnik appears to be playing better. It's taken a while to get going, but they certainly have righted the ship. So if you're going to hire a guy, hire the guy and give him the full authority to do what he needs to do. If he says, no, Mike Hawkins is my guy, I can fix that, not a problem, fine, that's your decision. Or if he says, no, we need to bring somebody in to push Mike, and Jackson Arnold is not that guy, we need to tell Jackson that he needs to go find somewhere else to play, then I'm fine too with someone standing up and making that decision. He jettisoned Ted Roof, and it has paid big dividends in terms of the way the defense is playing and how the defense is executed. He's got to do the same thing on offense, which is he's got to jettison, who we have and give some guy total authority to clear out the staff. Now, that guy says, I'm keeping Bill Beanbauer. I know Bill's problems are all related to the offensive coordinating. Done. Fine. If he says, no, I need my own guy, again, done. Fine.
Who do you go and get, though? I mean, let's just kind of do a short list.
I go get the Penn State guy, because working for James Franklin can't be any fun. I don't know James Franklin from I don't like James Franklin. I think he kind of has sort of the Peter principle. He sort of rises to the level of his own incompetence, right? I go hire the Konecki guys at Koptanecki from Kansas. Kansas misses him. Penn State's playing better offensive football. I don't know that you can pull him from there, because if I was James Franklin, I would offer him, my firstborn to stay and keep my offense running, considering, you probably you could beat Penn State based upon you could beat Ohio State, sorry, and Michigan. I don't think they play both of them, but I wouldn't shock me if we don't see a Penn State Oregon Big Ten championship game. So I think that's the first guy I would call. Second guy, you could get him on the cheap. Just tell Kevin Wilson, quit your Tulsa job, come home. Bring Kevin Wilson back. Knows that, great offensive coordinator. He's just not a good coach. He's not a good head ball coach. Was okay at Indiana. He's not doing a good job at Tulsa. I think like Chip Kelly, he's ready to just be an offensive coordinator and just make him an offensive coordinator. I'd do that. Start there, and then the James Madison guy. Other than they're putting up a bunch of points, I don't know him. I can't even tell you his name. But I mean, there are players, there are people you can find.
Let me add to that list. So you said talk about what was your three again? Just go down that list.
So Kevin Wilson from Tulsa, just like Chip Kelly from UCLA, right?
No. I got you on that. Just their names.
No, the Penn State guy
is
what is it? Kolnecki,
Kevin Wilson, and
the James Madison guy seems to be doing. I mean, you want somebody that's doing.
No, I'll add to that list. I just wanted their names, so I'll add to that list. So with that list, I think Jason last night talking to him, he said Tim Beck over there at Vandy. He would like that.
I don't like that.
Some people are screaming for Brendan Marion with the go-go offense. I'm not necessarily in love with that idea, but still
they're they're scoring a lot. It is innovative.
Mm-hmm.
The only problem there is so Dean Kennedy is the offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach at James Madison.
Okay. So you could do that. I mean, that would be that.
The only thing I don't like about Marion is he's not a quarterbacks coach, right? He's a wide receivers coach.
Yeah. Yeah. Let me so you could do that. What about the now two names that I've heard, I mean that I've heard. You heard last year or whatnot. Well, excuse me, one name. The Texas Tech OC.
Who is that guy?
I think isn't his name like Zach Kitney, something like that.
Zach Kitley. Was he at Western Kentucky? Is that his background?
I believe so.
Because Western Kentucky was always doing some really innovative stuff. He was at Houston Baptist in Western Kentucky. So again, some more spread influence kind of guys. Bailey Zappi was his quarterback, so he's developed quarterbacks. Somebody who that would be a little bit of the Emmett Jones kind of solution, right? Give him our talent base and see how we can run with it. Okay, I mean, I'm fine with. I think you could. There's 10 names that would be more than acceptable to me. Just don't hamstring them. Bring them in and let them run with it.
Would Kevin Wilson, would he be a comfort hire as well?
Well, Kevin Wilson, obviously, based upon anybody who was coached by him, would tell you no. I had a brief interaction with Kevin Wilson when he was at coach. I got to meet with him at an event. Great guy. I mean, he's the father of. I mean, really, when you talk about Leach being the father of like the modern spread, when you talk about the power spread, it's Kevin Wilson, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's the guy that really changed that, made the change, the no huddle, the power spread. I mean, he was good at Ohio State. He was doing well at Ohio State. So I don't think he's a head ball coach, but I think as an offensive coordinator, if you wanted to go with somebody, if Brent needs to go with somebody he knows on the outside, Kevin Wilson's your best option.
Mm-hmm. He's somebody that you could bring in with this current staff outside of Joe John. I think he's somebody that you could bring in.
He coached Joe John.
Well, I think that
I think you've got to set some limits though. Like I think you say, these guys are gone. These guys you can keep or they're gone as well.
Yeah.
Emmett Jones, you have to really explain to me why you need to replace him as wide receiver coach, and you can't work with him. That's what I would say.
That's it.
In a pecking order, I would say Joe John, fine. Seth, yeah, he's gone. Okay. DeMarco, you need to really tell me who you want to replace him with and why. And then he can go. Beating Bow, who's your replacement? Don't tell me you want to replace Bill without telling me you got an idea of who's replacing him, right? If you do, then okay, all right. But Emmett Jones, you're gonna have to really, really explain to me why you can't work with them and you need a different wide receiver coach. And Brendan Marion may say, no, I can work with Emmett. That's fine. Emmett can take the wide receivers. I'll focus on the quarterbacks. You know, I in my time at UNLV, I've developed. I can coach quarterbacks, not a problem. If that's the case, then Brendan Marion's fine. That's good. He's doing a lot with a little. Keep scoring. That one quarterback quits and he just gets the other guy up and running, ready, and they're. And other than that, they lost the game. But you know,
what about the Indiana OC?
Yeah, but the problem is that's all the head coach.
Okay.
The head coach is OC, right? It's the Signetti guy who's their new coach, who's their head coach. He's their offensive coordinator. So that's not going to work. The guy under Signetti is not play call. You need someone who is play calling, and we know Brendan Marion is play calling for Odom, right? We know that because Odom's a defensive guy, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Barry Odom's a defensive guy, right?
Yes, defensive guy. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So we know he's play calling, right? We know the James Madison guy's play calling. We know Kevin Wilson can play call. Kevin Wilson has play called national championship games. I mean, he's coached national. He has coached OU to their best offensive year before things got a little wacky in the Big 12 in the later teens. So those are guys I would go with. That's who I would go with. I mean, the Texas Tech guy, I'm not sure about that. But if you think he's an up and coming riser, and he can do, and Emmett Jones says he's fantastic, and I'm not sure they overlapped. I don't think they did. So they're obviously playing. Texas Tech's obviously playing well. They run the ball well. Taj Boyd? Is that right? They're running back.
Yeah.
Taj Boyd's having a great year. Jet. You can. Well, there's no one else to give their walking papers but Joe John Finley and Seth. And you're changing offensive coordinators. Seth is out of a job, and tight end coach. Hell, go hire Keith Jackson to be our tight end coach, right? Have him coach up our guys. Zach Alley's a clear example of you want to go get a Zach Alley from a lower level that you just love, that's an up-and-coming guy, and give him control? Sure, but don't hamstring any offensive coordinator by saying, you want a portal quarterback? Go get the guy you want. You want new offensive coaching staff? Tell me who you're firing. If you don't have that plan, you can't walk in to your interview with Brent and tell you that. It's easy to watch our game film, right? If I'm walking into Brent's office for the OC interview, I have these answers already for Brent.
Let me ask you this question.
If you don't, then Brent should say, thanks, goodbye. Go talk to HR. They'll validate your parking and give you coupons for dinner at Charleston's. Here's some free coupons for Charleston's. Enjoy your meal at the airport, but the Charleston's at the airport before you get out of town. So I got 5 more minutes.
Vance Bedford, Bevo's bodyguard. What? Okay, explain that. Stephen G says, Chris, do you want a young coach or older coach? I have a list. Drop the list in here. He says,
I don't care. Dirk Cutter? Oh. It's the fetid corpse of Lou Holtz not available to hire as a coach? Come on. Give me a break. The guy has to be able to recruit just a little bit. Plus, do we really want a guy whose name really sounds like Dick Cutter? I don't.
That is true.
We're already getting mocked by the Longhorns already, and you want to hire Dick Cutter? Give me a break.
Who is your young guy, Stephen G? Sooners Cowboys, nobody did. No, if you would have told me this offense would have been this bad, regardless the injuries or not, it's crazy.
There is no one in college football recruiting evaluation or watches college football that thought Jackson Arnold would completely and entirely flame out. And for what it's worth, Nico is not that far behind. He just has much better offensive personnel around him. But Nico is not that far behind from the flame out too. So something's up with that recruiting class at this point.
So what about Sonny Comby if he left that La Tech job?
I mean, okay, sure. I mean, yeah, okay. I mean, again, I don't love it, but he's an experienced offensive coordinator. He knows what he's doing. He has a scheme. He runs a scheme. I believe Sooner Cowboys, I made that reference already when I said the 2018, that we just saw the 2018 Mike Stoops defensive performance in the offense yesterday. So completely agree with you. Sonny Cumbie, sure. Okay. Yeah. All right. So, I mean, give me somebody experienced who's an offensive coordinator who has a scheme and a plan. I thought we were getting that in Seth Luttrell. Obviously, we weren't. But Brent should know that I don't think Brent's in trouble, Chris, but Brent should know he's putting his job on the line with this next hire.
Defensively, things have worked out. I mean, this year you're starting to see some things materialize, but you could have talked about Chavis for a while there, but everything is starting to materialize and head in the right direction. Honestly, with that too, you're seeing guys get home. But on the offensive side of the ball, it's been a lot that's been and it's not that Levy was terrible or Levy was bad or anything. Hell, Levy's a head coach in the SEC himself. But the thing was just that marriage. It just wasn't a match made in heaven, right?
Well, and he burned so much capital with the whole Bryles nonsense.
Yeah,
I mean, he did. I mean, that's a brain dead, stupid move by someone who can't read the room.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I think I don't care who it is, right? So to a certain level, I do care, but I don't. If you say I'd like this guy, okay, and there's no hill. I'm not dying on any hill about the guy we have to hire. He just know that Brent's putting his job on the line with his next hire because you have 2 more years of what you've built a defensive foundation for good defenses for the next 2 years. That's what it looks like. The portal obviously makes that a little weak, but for the most part, the defensive guys, you've got the defensive guys for 2 more years of really good defense. That's what it looks like. So you have got to reverse the decline next year, and then in 26 have the offense have settled things completely and have the offense on the rise, right? So that junior David Stone, Danny Okoye, Boganowski, senior Kobe, Lewis, Samo, Jacoby Johnson, all those guys are upperclassmen on defense, and you've got that defense ready to go. You need to have that you got to have by 26 a stable offensive scheme with a true game-winning quarterback in place. We should have an easier SEC schedule. I mean, I can't make it any harder.
Yeah. You walk it in knowing what you're going to do.
Although they could throw Bama and Georgia on the schedule as well at the same.
I think we're just flipping it. On that.
But the 26th is brand new. But yeah, so that's where you are because I can, from a recruiting perspective, I love the DB class. I love Trent Wilson. I love Marcus James at linebacker or at edge. I think C.J. Nixon. Got to get a recruiting plug before I go in there, Chris. You know how that goes. I can't talk about for an hour and a half without talking recruiting at some point. I love CJ Nixon at edge. You combine them, and I love the DB class. Depth, more playmakers. You combine all those groups together, and you in 25 and 26, you're going to have, I think, a pretty loaded defense for 25 and 26. You've got to get the offense re-energized for next year, and then for 26, you got to have a playmaking quarterback ready to go, and ready to hand the reins off to Jaden O'Neal in 2027, possibly. But like I said, let's stop anointing quarterbacks and let them win the effing job. So, but that's my last diatribe. I mean, recruiting's fine. If you fire Bill and you lose this offensive line class, I'm going to cry because Foji and Fasusi and Afalava, if they come in early, they're in the 2 deep next year. You finally have some young guys like Brooks, EPL. Hopefully Daniel Akinkimi, now that he's healthy and he's on the scout team, can be a factor next year in the 2 deep as well. You finally got some good young guys. We should be out of the portal. Bill has got the 2026 offensive line class lined up. Pretty much. There were a lot of guys who were at the game yesterday. Hopefully they saw playing time in the offensive line. Emmett Jones has got wide receivers. DeMarco's got running backs. We have a tight end from 26 who's pretty good. He's a Sooner legacy, so he'll stick with it even if Joe John leaves. I think Davon Mitchell, with a year of maturity and a year I think he'll be a factor in the spring, depending upon if you can find a coach to coach him up. But I think, there are pieces all there. We just need an offensive coordinator to come in, establish a system, and train up a quarterback. I don't see anybody who's committed wavering. Maybe somebody kicks the tires with Cortez Mills again. But if I'm Cortez, I saw yesterday as nothing but playing time.
Yep.
Okay. Babalola probably going to pick Michigan. That's what Wilt Fong said. I think that's probably the way things have been trending. The 3 annoyances right now: no new offers and no line for 2025. Where are the defensive tackles for 2025? We need another tight end for 2025, obviously. And we need another edge rusher for 2025. Although they're talking about a kid. If you don't know that name, listen to my podcast or subscribe to my Patreon.
People, look, we've been on here for about 1 hour and 22 minutes. We talked about the good, the bad.
I'm going to call Chris, give you a chance to wrap up.
Okay, cool. We talked about the good, the bad, and the ugly. And, man, look, things got ugly yesterday. After a while, put up a solid effort in that first quarter, leaked over to the second quarter, but things just didn't go our way. Defensively, not really mad. Not necessarily mad about the loss, y'all. Not necessarily mad about the loss. I understand it. I get it. I know what we're all dealing with here with these Sooners, but it's just a frustration because of the lack of identity, the lack of just anything that you could truly build off of for that game. I mean, after that game, right? Offensively, it looked like we just were the same, right? Just running around with a chicken cut off on our with a chicken with his head cut off. Excuse me, I'm so tongue tied, y'all. I just don't understand just the offensive philosophy right now, or what's going on inside that locker room on that side of the ball. When you heard really good things about a lot of different players that are still actually playing, and I think these young guys can play. I do. I don't know. We got to see it, man. We get a test here again. On Saturday, 11:45, we got to play South Carolina. That is not going to be an easy game. That defense is going to be ready, but at the same time, we're playing at home. We're back, so you're hopeful. Anything that we can do to get to 5-2, that's all that matters right now. So yeah, we'll definitely be back probably Wednesday or Thursday or so with a preview of that game. Not only that, but some more recruiting stuff or whatnot. So with that being said, we're about to head out.
There's a lot of great OU podcasts. But there's only one where the horns are always down. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Horns Down Podcast.